The young and the restless spoilers shock. The shadows of Genoa City never stay quiet for long. And once again, Nick Newman and Sharon Newman find themselves drawn into a maelstrom that will test not only their courage, but also the fragile bond of love that has lingered between them for decades. This time, the stakes could not be higher, for their son Noah Newman may be the target of a sinister new scheme. Whispers of a kidnapping ripple through the town, and all signs point to a mystery that stretches far beyond Genoa City's borders, reaching into secrets left unresolved in France, where Nick and Sharon were once entangled in chaos that nearly cost them both their lives. For longtime fans, the thought of Sharon and Nick working together again evokes memories of countless storylines where they have stood side by side, saving each other from danger while struggling with the undeniable pull of their connection. But the latest twist adds a cruel layer. Instead of saving each other, they may now be forced to save Noah, whose disappearance sets off a chain reaction of fear, suspicion, and the chilling realization that a new hostage crisis may be unfolding before their eyes. The first hint comes in the form of a cryptic messagino sender. No signature, only words that strike terror into Sharon's heart. The note suggests that Noah is in danger, that he is being held somewhere out of reach, and that unless certain demands are met, his life may hang in the balance. For Sharon, the message is more than just a threat. It is a nightmare come true. Memories of past tragedies flood back, of times when she has nearly lost her children, and of the countless ways in which danger has always seemed to follow the Newmans. For Nick, the note is a challenge he cannot ignore. He has fought kidnappers, criminals, and corporate enemies before, but the possibility of his son being used as leverage cuts him deeper than any other battle. What makes the situation even more complex is the shadow of Cain Ashby, whose actions in France still haunt Nick. It was only weeks ago that Nick found himself locked away in Cain's French estate, held captive and beaten down until he was left bloody, bruised, and teetering on the edge of despair. Sharon, in her determination, found herself caught in the chaos as well, their survival dependent on courage and sheer instinct. In those desperate hours, Nick, believing his time might be running out, reached for Sharon and kissed her. It was not a kiss born of convenience, but of years of buried love, a spark that ignited even amidst the darkness of captivity. Yet once freed and back in Genoa City, the kiss became something unspoken, an elephant between them that neither seemed ready to address. Nick, true to his nature, preferred action over words, pretending that the kiss was simply a moment of weakness, content to let the chips fall where they may. Sharon, however, has never been one for ambiguity. Having longed for Nick in his absence, her heart stirred by memories of their past and the fragile hope of a future together, she yearns for clarity. For her, their bond is too important to be left in limbo, too precious to be treated as a fleeting impulse. She wants to know where they stand, even as the world around them threatens to collapse once more. Now, with Noah possibly in danger, those buried feelings surge back to the surface, colliding with the urgency of the crisis. Sharon sees in Nick the man she has always loved, the protector who will stop at nothing to save their son. Yet she also fears that the closer they are drawn together by danger, the further they may drift apart when the crisis is over if Nick refuses to face his feelings. For Nick, the kidnapping is not just about saving Noah, but about proving, perhaps to himself as much as to Sharon, that he is still capable of keeping his family safe even when the odds are stacked against him. The weight of failure presses heavy on him, especially after France, where his captivity nearly destroyed him. To lose Noah now would be unbearable. As the investigation into Noah's disappearance begins, Nick and Sharon are thrust together, retracing steps, chasing leads, and relying on each other's instincts as they always have. The mystery deepens when evidence surfaces that Noah's kidnapping may be tied to unfinished business from their time in France, suggesting that Cain's shadow still lingers. Whether Cain himself is behind the plot or whether enemies once connected to him are seeking revenge remains unclear, but the connection is undeniable. For Sharon, The idea that their son is caught in the crossfire of a war that began with Cain fills her with both rage and guilt. For Nick, it fuels his determination, the fire in his eyes burning brighter with every clue they uncover. Yet amidst the chaos, the tension between them only grows. Sharon cannot ignore the kiss that still lingers in her heart, nor can she accept Nick's tendency to bury his emotions beneath layers of stoicism. She longs to hear him say the words she has been waiting for, to admit that their love still burns, but Nick clings to his silence, afraid that voicing his feelings will only complicate the crisis at hand. Sharon, exasperated, pushes him, demanding honesty, reminding him that life is too fragile to waste on hesitation. For Nick, the focus must remain on Noah, but in the quiet moments between the search, the truth of his love for Sharon seeps through his actions, the way he protects her, the way his hand lingers on hers, the way his eyes betray the emotions his lips refuse to speak. The possibility of a new hostage story terrifies and excites fans in equal measure. The Newmans have faced kidnappings before, but this time the stakes are even more personal, even more dangerous, because the entire dynamic of the family hangs in the balance. If Noah is saved, will the ordeal bring them closer together, or will it leave scars too deep to heal? If the truth about France resurfaces, will Sharon and Nick finally confront their feelings, or will they bury them once more beneath layers of unspoken longing? For Sharon, being reunited with Nick would be a dream come true, but she knows better than to believe in dreams without clarity. She has loved him for too long, lost him too many times, and suffered too much heartbreak to allow herself to be pulled into another cycle of passion and silence. She needs more. Needs honesty, commitment, and proof that the kiss in France was not just desperation, but a reflection of something real. For Nick, the path forward is murkier. He loves Sharon, of that he has no doubt, but the chaos of his life, the weight of his loyalty to Victor, and the fear of failure make him hesitant to promise what he cannot guarantee. He prefers to let the future reveal itself in action rather than words, hoping that Sharon will understand. But Sharon, tired of ambiguity, is no longer content to wait. As the story builds, fans are left to wonder, will Nick and Sharon save Noah in time, or will the mysterious kidnappers push them into a nightmare that even they cannot escape? Will the truth of their feelings finally be spoken, or will it remain hidden beneath the chaos of survival? And perhaps most hauntingly, will this ordeal unite them forever, or tear them apart once and for all? In Genoa City, love and danger walk hand in hand, and for Nick and Sharon, the next steps they take could decide not only their future, but the fate of their family. The Young and the Restless is preparing to launch one of its most ambitious and emotional storylines this fall, as Sharon Newman and Nick Newman find themselves drawn back togetherness simply by lingering feelings that neither can quite suppress, but by a mysterious threat that forces them into a dangerous adventure to save their son. For months, fans have speculated about whether Nick and Sharon would finally address the kiss they shared in France when Nick, bloodied and bruised from his captivity at Cain Ashby's estate, pulled Sharon close in a moment of desperation and undeniable passion. Since their return to Genoa City, the spark between them has smoldered quietly, never truly addressed, with Nick choosing action over words and Sharon longing for clarity. But now, a new crisis emerges that will test not only their bond as parents, but also the fragile lines of trust and intimacy that have always tied them together. The storyline begins with a cryptic message anonymous, chilling, and impossible to ignore. Sharon is the first to discover it, and as she reads the vague but unmistakable words suggesting Noah is in danger, her pulse races with maternal panic. Nick, upon seeing it, immediately recognizes the implications. Their son may have been targeted as part of something larger, something that stretches far beyond Genoa City's borders. Neither can deny the urgency of the threat, and neither can walk away from the duty of protecting their family. For Sharon, the message reawakens memories of the countless times she has almost lost her children, memories that have scarred her, but also made her more determined than ever. For Nick, it is a call to arms, a reminder that no matter how fractured his relationships may be, his role as protector cannot be abandoned. As the two begin piecing the puzzle together, it becomes clear that this is not an ordinary threat. The cryptic tone, the international threads, and the suggestion of hidden enemies all point to a mystery with roots outside of Genoa City. The clues whisper of London, perhaps even further across Europe, pulling Nick and Sharon into an adventure that will take them away from the familiar streets of their home and thrust them into a world of espionage, betrayal, and danger. It is a setup that feels less like a domestic squabble and more like an international thriller. And for Sharon and Nick, the stakes could not be higher. Noah's life hangs in the balance. The timing of this storyline could not be more deliberate. With actor Lucas Adams set to debut as the recast Noah Newman this fall, the writers are seizing the opportunity to make his return explosive and unforgettable. Instead of simply reintroducing Noah into the backdrop of Newman family drama, the show is crafting a storyline that places him at the center, transforming his return into a catalyst for adventure and family reckoning. This recast promises not only a fresh interpretation of Noah, but also a chance to redefine his relationships with his parents, who will stop at nothing to bring him home. For fans, the introduction of Lucas Adams means new energy, new chemistry, and the possibility of storylines that could stretch far beyond this initial arc. What makes this adventure even more compelling is the emotional undercurrent between Nick and Sharon. Forced to work as a team, the two must set aside their unresolved feelings and focus on the mission at hand. But the intensity of the crisis only magnifies the bond they share. Sharon has long dreamed of clarity with Nick, and though the circumstances are far from romantic, being thrust into danger alongside him rekindles memories of the countless times they have relied on each other before. Nick, stubborn and unwilling to put words to his emotions, reveals his love through his actions, the way he protects her in every tense encounter, the way he listens to her instincts, the way his eyes soften whenever he sees fear in hers. The kiss in France lingers between them, unspoken but undeniable, and every close call in this new adventure threatens to bring it back to the surface. The choice of London as a potential destination is more than symbolic. The city represents history, secrets, and the kind of labyrinthine intrigue that soap operas thrive on. For Sharon and Nick, navigating foreign streets while chasing whispers of their son's captors forces them into situations where trust is paramount, and where the only people they can rely on are each other. The specter of Cain Ashby still looms. Was this plot tied to his earlier machinations in France? Or is it the work of enemies yet unseen, foes who recognized the vulnerability of the Newman family and seized it for their own ends? The writers are careful to leave the answers hanging, fueling speculation while ensuring every episode drips with suspense. For Sharon, this is not just about saving Noah, it is about reclaiming a sense of control in a life that has so often spiraled into chaos. For Nick, it is about proving that no matter how many mistakes he has made, no matter how often his loyalties have been tested, his role as protector of his family is unshakable. Together, they form a team forged in love and tested in fire. And though they may not yet admit what they mean to each other, their actions speak louder than words. Fans will watch as the duo retrace clues, decode the message, and face danger head-on, each step pushing them closer to Noah and perhaps closer to finally admitting the feelings they have both buried for too long. The question now is not whether Sharon and Nick will save Noah, but what the cost will be. Will the journey finally bring them together in a way that survives beyond the crisis, or will it leave them once again fractured, unable to reconcile love with reality? Will Noah's rescue mark the beginning of his fresh chapter in Genoa City under Lucas Adams, or will it plunge him into even darker waters that will shape his character for years to come? And most tantalizing of all, will the cryptic message prove to be only the beginning, a breadcrumb leading to a larger conspiracy that could ripple across the Newman family, the Abbotts, and beyond? One thing is certain: this fall, The Young and the Restless is poised to deliver not just romance or business rivalries, but a full-fledged adventure story. one that takes beloved characters out of their comfort zones and places them in a race against time. Nick and Sharon, once again side by side, will remind fans why their pairing has endured for decades, because no matter how many twists fate throws at them, their connection remains unbreakable. As they chase down leads, confront old demons, and risk everything for Noah, viewers will be reminded that in Genoa City, love is never just about passion, it is about survival, sacrifice, and the lengths one will go to protect the people who matter most.